ask any questions, be sure to use the chat box on the side. So let me quickly introduce our panelists. We have Tiffany Lin, Director of Kira Fisher. Would you like to wave to our viewers?
Hi, I'm Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany. Nice seeing you in the virtual space. We have Tiffany Francis, Director of Hello from Taiwan, Huang Yongting.
Hello.
Hi, Tiffany. We also have Catherine Zhou, Director of A Cure for All Things. Catherine?
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Okay, now I can't see you, but I know you're here. Okay, and then we also have Teresa Cho, producer of Eva and the Crack of Dawn, Chanel Wang, the lead actress of Eva and the Crack of Dawn, and Roxy Xu, director of Eva and the Crack of Dawn. Can you wave to our viewers?
Look at all the beautiful women on this panel. I'm here for it.
Awesome. Okay. We also have Zhang Youzhu, director of Smiling Buddha. And Youzhu, could you just wave to us? You there? All right. Okay, and then we also have Judy Yang Yuhui, director of Chinese Cha Cha Cha, the film that we just saw.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, good to have all of you guys here today with us, and then thank you guys all so much. Such fabulous blog with so many interesting films, and I think they all echo this year's theme, Kindred, in an interesting way. And then our Chinese theme for this year is Jia. And I feel like because it's COVID-19 and we're in quarantine, I feel this is such a fitting title for this year. And I remember when Sydney and I were watching this year's submissions, we're just so amazed by how almost every film submitted this year sort of talked to each other in a way and then really take us to explore the relationship between family and home in depth. So my question to our filmmakers is, what was your inspiration for making the film and what inspired you to start the project? So how about we start with Tiffany Lin, director of Kira Fisher?
Cool, yeah. Hello, guys. So obviously my film, there's like a lot of different components to it, but I think the inspiration first came from a few years ago after my grandfather passed away. I was kind of I had this like kind of feeling of regret where I didn't feel like I said everything that I wanted to say or like ask him. And so this film kind of came out of that place. And kind of as I started writing it, obviously the Star Wars thing came in as well. And I think I was like really inspired by that, both because like Carrie Fisher is like a good name for a fish. And also I think as like Taiwanese American person or like just like any kind of like immigrant like in America, you're always like looking for ways to like carve out your own identity within the culture, and for a lot of people that is through like pop culture, including Star Wars. And so this was kind of an exploration of that as well.
Thank you. That's awesome. When I watched the film, I was like, yeah, Carrie Fisher, love that name. It's so good. What about you, Tiffany Francis? What was your inspiration for making the film?
Yeah, so the film started off as like one single scene, and it's sort of based off one of my earliest childhood memories. And that memory happened to be when my parents, when I was like age 3 to 4, they decided to get to split up, and my dad took my two older sisters with him to Taiwan, and I was in San Jose with my mom, San Jose, California, and then about a year later, my dad decided to drop off my sisters back in San Jose, and I was probably like 4 or 5 at the time when they came back, and I was like, I met them at the airport, and I was like, who are you guys again? So it was a really interesting memory that I've had, and my family has since actually, they stayed intact. My parents got back together for the sake of the family, and so I kind of wanted to explore sort of like a lot of cultural nuances that had to do with, families wanting to stay together for the sake of their children, but then also, just having a really interesting memory of like why were we separated in the first place at such a young age? And it didn't really make, I didn't really realize kind of the effects of it until like way later. And that's, writing this scene was sort of like my way of processing that memory.
Yeah, I feel it's such an intimate story, and I can see that you draw this from your own memory and childhood experiences. And I guess I want to add one more question before I go to the next one. Is I noticed Janet is the lead actress in the film, right? So how did you start working with her, and how did you build this relationship with her? And then, more importantly, everybody's speaking different languages in this film, right? So what was it like making this film with so many different languages?
Yeah, so we have Taiwanese, Mandarin, and English. And one of the criteria I really needed for the mother character was for her to speak all three languages. And because for my parents' generation, I don't know if you guys have similar experiences, but they mainly speak. I think Taiwanese is more of their native tongue, and so I really felt it was really important to represent that in my film for authenticity's sake, and also just the way that generation sort of communicates with each other. So I really need to find a lead character that could have that. And I was really lucky, and also besides that, they have to be a good actor. So I was really lucky that someone, one of one of the executive producers at a production company that I work with, they're called Valiant Pictures. Vincent Lin is the executive producer there, and he happened to have a friend that knew Janet, and so he connected us, and I went to meet with Janet, she and her lovely husband George at a coffee shop in Culver City, and it was right before they went to Taiwan. Actually, she goes there a lot for work, so we happened to meet in person, and it was like, do you like? Let's talk about this role and see if this is the right match for you, and vice versa, if you want to be part of it. And so we just started with the discussion, and she was really lucky and generous with her time, and she's excited about the role, knowing that it meant a lot to me, and also just that, it was a big part of like our parents' generation, their stories and background as well. So really lucky to have her.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So for those of you who don't know, Janet Shea is the hostess for Discovery Channel's in Taiwan, this TV series called Fun Taiwan. It's a travel lifestyle TV show where they go to different places in Taiwan and then just explore the food and lifestyle there. It's the longest running show on the channel. It's about 13 seasons now. So I was just really surprised and happy to see her in the film. My next question is to Catherine. So, A Cure for All Things is such an interesting story. I really like the whole idea of time travel. So, Catherine, if you can share with us what was your inspiration for making the film?
Yeah, so in regards to the time travel, I feel like a lot of times my experience as someone in the diaspora is that my life is kind of like science fiction in a way, because I'm always, at least mentally, like between many different places and between many different times, depending on the context of where I actually am. And so I think what I really love about film is that you can sort of make these intangible things tangible. And for me, that translated into the glitching in and out and the time travel in the film. But like in terms of the inspiration of the themes and the characters and the story behind the film, it was really just a combination of all of these things that I've been thinking about for the past, say, 5 years. As my relationship to my identity has changed, I moved alone to France for school and kind of got a sense of what my parents felt as immigrants. And then, like last year, I spent the whole year in Taiwan and got to get to know a lot of young Taiwanese people, sort of some on the cusp of their own immigration journeys. And so I wanted to sort of examine the ripple effects of that one very casual, or even that one mundane, practical, casual decision to immigrate. And sort of also in the course of that question, who we're told our descendants or our ancestors might be, and then recenter the narrative from, say, someone like me, the child who feels like I'm the protagonist at the center of this very singular experience, and recenter that on the mother who is like an actual human being. Because a lot of times, we say our immigrant parents, but who are they as people who choose to do this very brave thing? And that's why I think for me, I made sure to make Jawe sort of the entry point, that person that you connect to. But over the course of the film, you sort of realize, oh, actually, this is about the mother. And this is something that has happened many times in their past and will happen again in the future.
Yeah, I really like the way you put it, the glitching effect. And I feel like as sort of new immigrants in the US and then have coming from Taiwan, I always feel like I'm sort of in time travel in a way. When I go back to Taiwan, it feels like time just stands still there and nothing has changed, but everything has changed already. So it's really interesting way to put it. Thank you so much. And then the next is to Roxy, Teresa, and Chanel. For Evan at the Crack of Dawn, what was your inspiration for making the film?
Go, Chanel.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I think simply put, I was in a conversation with a friend of mine about a previous film that I had made. It was like an experimental short, and he was asking me what inspired me to make that one. And I said, oh, I was just really lost in my life. I didn't know what else to do, so I just made something. And we just kept talking, and I went home that evening, and I could not get the concept of being lost out of my head. And so either later that night or the very next day, I just started writing a script between two characters. It was just very simple. They were in the same room, just having a discussion about being lost. And then over time, I started adding the elements of like Evan's character being lost in his grief, and then somehow found my way of him having a conversation with an angel. So it all sort of came together in pieces. It was never like planned. So that's what became the inspiration for the film.
Yes. And then she came to me, and then she was like, I want to make this film. And then I encouraged Chanel, because I saw so much opportunity within the script, and how creatively talented she is, and wanted to bring it to life in our own way. And also, I'm mostly known as a genre filmmaker, so it was also the first time that I got to explore a piece where I don't kill anybody. So that was really wonderful, and I really want to thank Chanel for trusting me with her script. I also brought on Teresa, who has been a longtime friend of mine, and we've collaborated many times over the course of the years, and she also really helped us bring this to materialize in a 3D world. So I think we all sort of resonate with the connective tissue of grief and also feeling lost, and that even though we pray to the angels, we pray to the divine about like maybe that we're not in control of our lives, but what if nothing is in anything's control? You know what I mean? So it's a deeper exploration of just letting go and releasing what is in the past and living in the present. I think that's what really, I think what 2020 has also taught us, that sometimes when I think about Evan, I think about just letting go of the future, letting go of the past, and just simply existing in the present. So we were able to really combine these. It was fun to combine these sort of surreal like elements with a very low budget, and like sort of reworking the script to sort of, you know, the limitations, being able to enhance those moments, like the books, and like we stole this the shack at the top of the movie somewhere in Palmdale, my favorite place to shoot in the world. And it just so happened that they also have torn up, burnt books that was thematic to Evan's journey on his desire to pursue his dream. You know, like sometimes we feel guilty that we can't pursue what we want because we still are unable to let go of something from the past. So this was definitely a representative of that. And also we should normalize, like, you know, just Asians in film without having to explain anything. I also think that it's important that we could go as far as we want in terms of our fantasies, without having to correlate with it being directly Asian American or Taiwanese American. Yeah.
Good, Teresa, do you want to add anything?
I feel like they basically covered. I mean, it was Chanel's vision, and then Roxy came on and took it to the next level, and I was just there to make sure the trains like came in on time and everyone stayed happy and sane. So, and it was great. So.
Does that cabin belong to any one of you guys? Where did you find that location?
The where we actually shot, like the house.
Yeah.
We were really fortunate in that it was actually we had multiple places set up to look at, but it was the only place we looked at, and it was so perfect that we didn't bother going to other places, and it was
fit the script so well that our production designers, you know, they had work to do, but there was also, it was so rich that they were able to pull from it. And then they went to Palmdale and found a magic shack that also like matched. So it was pretty phenomenal.
Film miracle.
Yes, yes. It was full of miracles. It was an angel story, so it felt very fitting.
We all need that when we start a new project. Is Yeoju here? Are you able to log on? Let me start with Yuhui then. So our next is Yang Yuhui, Judy Yang for Taiwanese Cha Cha Cha. So what was your inspiration for making this film? And it's such a fun film. If I may say that, I feel it's really interesting to watch it and then to think about, because I grew up in Taiwan, but I don't even really speak Chinese that well, and I feel very similar to the main character, that I feel this connection, and I really want to get back to my roots. So I really enjoy how you bring this perspective to us. What was your inspiration for making this film? And it looks like you have a lot of location shooting in Yilan or other cities in Taiwan. What was your experience shooting the film in Taiwan? What was your biggest challenge?
So I started building up this story when my grandma passed away, and during that time I was in San Francisco getting my master's. So I was the only one in the family who didn't really say bye to her. And then like the 6 months before she passed away, I was in Taiwan. So I was trying to talk to her, but at that time she was very, very sick. So when I was a kid, as I grow up, we always talk in Mandarin because she always like talked to me that way. So I always felt like I didn't really have to learn Taiwanese. But when she was so sick, she couldn't process Mandarin anymore. So the only time she would respond to me is when I talked to her in Taiwanese, but my Taiwanese was so bad. And so like during all this time, like all this important time, all I could ask her is like, oh, do you want to eat this? Or, oh, how do you feel today? But I couldn't have like deeper conversation with her. So I started thinking about all this and try to make it something people can relate to, as it can be a comedy. And yeah, so I turned it into Taiwanese Cha Cha Cha. And shooting in Taiwan actually wasn't that hard. First of all, it's a small island, so like everything is like very easy to reach. But the other way, like I think the locations, especially all the locations outside, we could shop for free, and then like all the city councils were very willing to help us. So it was a very good experience shooting in Taiwan.
Perfect. So that's. Is Yeoju here online?
I think she cannot log in.
Oh, she cannot? Maybe somebody from our end can send her a new invite? Okay. Okay, so how about we open the floor for any kind of questions? Does anybody want to ask more questions? Teresa says she loves the opening of Cha Cha Cha. I like the ending of Cha Cha Cha. I like how everybody is dancing, and then with the grandpa, I just feel the place they go. I feel like my grandparents went to the same place all the time. Is this like dance club, and then it's always filled with people, and then they were drinking tea instead of alcohol when they do the dance. It's just so reminiscent of families over there. Okay, let's see. Any more questions? Yeah, okay, Nikki says the Cha 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 aesthetics were on point. I feel the same way too. Okay. Yeah, I guess that maybe everybody can sort of talk about what was the biggest challenge of making your film, because I feel like we, as filmmakers, people see you guys at the theaters, at the center stage, as if everything is sort of running smoothly. But there are so many difficulties in the process that everything feels like a during the shoot, every day can be a big challenge. So if you guys can share your stories with us, like what was it like? What was the challenge in the process of making it? Was it really you have to do something within such a short time? How do you deal with that? Yeah, Tiffany, would you like to share for making Carrie Fisher?
Yeah, so much to talk about. Yeah, so Carrie Fisher is Dead was my thesis film for school. I just graduated this spring, so I basically spent my last semester at school making it. And so, yeah, like making an animation is like hard enough in itself because every frame you have to draw. I did this entire film in Photoshop with some compositing in After Effects. So it was a lot of kind of just like dealing with that. And I was doing everything by myself. So all of like the animation, the coloring, even the sound design, that was all me. And then obviously like, because I was working on it this spring, like in March, this like little coronavirus came around. And so basically once that happened, I really just kind of like buckled down and like this was basically like the only thing I could continue working on. And so throughout like April and May, like March, April, May, like I was at home again. So I was in my parents' basement like every day, just kind of like drawing, animating, kind of like I just wanted to finish the film out of spite at that point. Like on the day of my Zoom graduation, I was still doing a little like finishing touches for that. And it was like definitely very interesting kind of doing a lot of stuff virtually where like normally like for example like sound mix normally like would do that like on a stage. And so for this I had to do it virtually. There are some like sound effects that I had to pick up that were also done virtually. But I think like given all of these like challenges, I'm really happy with how the film turned out. And yeah, like as far as like a COVID made film, like I'm like pretty happy with it.
Great. I have a question from the audience. So for writing comedy that translates across languages, what was that like? I think this probably is to Taiwanese cha-cha-cha. So for writing comedy that translates across languages, what was that experience like?
Wait, so the question is it about like translating Taiwanese and Mandarin to English, or it's more like directing to foreign audience?
I think it's probably a question about how do you direct it to between the actors, and then what is it like to conceptualize the comedy when it's like in different languages? Like were you thinking in English when you're conceptualizing the story and then translate that into Chinese? Or what was it like?
So usually my writing process is I write in English first, and then I translate it to Mandarin, and then translate back to English, and then back and forth. That when my actors get it, it's definitely a script in Mandarin, but I also show the English script to my friends, or at that time to my professors. So the difficult part is there are things that are very natural to me, and maybe I feel like it's not really necessary to explain, but obviously I had to. So I would like, I had like 10 different versions, and then I would just try to improve on how people who are not familiar with Taiwanese culture can also get the point. And there was a part that I put in the script, and I feel like, oh, maybe this is it's important to be explanatory. But then when my professor, like totally unfamiliar with Taiwan, watched the film, he felt like, oh, that part can be cut out. So it was like interesting, like how some parts of the story can already send the message without having the characters having to stand there and saying like all like the background information. But I think the opening card is important because it's also another feedback from one of my professors. He's like, oh, I think you have to explain a little the situation in Taiwan. And I think that title cards really work for the story.
I see another question from Ho-Chi. It says, great job, everyone. Any other project you're working on or even thinking about, especially if there are Taiwanese or Taiwanese American related stories? I'm just going to open it up, see anybody want to answer to the question.
can go.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wrote a feature about, it's kind of like, it's like a coming of age story, but it's about a Taiwanese American teenager growing up in the Bay Area, kind of looking at, like, I grew up in Fremont, if anyone is familiar with that, and I think, like, being in a place where it's, like, a majority Asian community, and then, like, with the convergence of Silicon Valley, too, it's, like, just very, like, it can create a very toxic culture, so this film is kind of, like, just exploring that. But then there's also, like, elements of, like, The Big Short. Yeah.
Cool. Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead.
I really like the idea of coming back home. So I'm developing this new story on an island called Penghu. I don't know. Yeah, it's a small island. And I'm doing this story because after I come back to Taiwan last year from States, I feel like the pacing is very different in Taiwan. It's like slow and messy, but organized in the same way. So I really want to like show this difference, and I want to use Penghu as an example. So I'm just writing this new story, like another comedy that's taking place on the small island. Also, like grandpa, people who come back from States, and then another young people. Yeah.
Awesome. I think you're gonna have a good time. Great. Anybody else like to share your next project? Tiffany, go ahead.
Yes. So I actually am pitching Hello from Taiwan as a television series, which I'm really excited about. So maybe it'll get picked up. I'm excited about it.
Cool. Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm told to wrap up this session as we move on to our next blog. Thank you guys all so much for joining me. And again, for our viewers, you can vote for your favorite film, and the winner is going to get $1,000, a lot of money. So be sure to vote before you go. And thank you all so much for joining me today. We'll see you in the next vlog. Thank you guys. Bye.